addition to our agreed lineup of participants, I'm delighted to have a bonus participant, and that's Gerard O'Farrell. Gerard O'Farrell has worked extensively in the motor import and retail sector for over 35 years. He's head of the car division of OHM Group, who are importers of Jaguar Land Rover Ireland, and director of Spirit Motor Group, who are operating 8 dealerships across South and West Dublin. And Gerard is a former president of SIMI. Gerard, you're very welcome this afternoon, and thanks for joining us. A common theme throughout the sessions this morning and yesterday were around transportation, electric vehicles, hybrids, and the part they play in meeting climate change targets. But one of I suppose the questions that come up now and again is around range anxiety, and some people are reluctant to make that leap into an electric vehicle due to range anxiety. Can you sort of clarify what range anxiety is, and should we be worried about it?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm delighted to be here with you today. And I think it's a very topical issue because we're now, as we've seen in our recent budget, very much focused on the climate and the move and transition across society to decarbonise the economy. And a critical part of that is the whole motor sector. So all of our internal combustions produce quite an element of carbon. The move and transition to electric vehicles helps us dramatically reduce that. One of the things with the electric vehicles is they're dependent on the range of the battery, and there have been very significant advances in development in battery technology over the last 5 years, and particularly the last 2 years, and that has increased the range that the battery can actually travel. And I suppose for most people considering their first electric vehicle, there is an anxiety that what if I find myself in the middle of the countryside with no battery and no range. And I suppose to put that in context, the average urban dweller covers about 60 to 70 kilometres a day in terms of their normal driving. The average new electric car being offered on the market today has a range of between 300 and 500 kilometres. So they've certainly got 5 to 7 days charge within their vehicles. So range isn't really something that people need to be anxious about anymore. Okay. Having driven an electric vehicle for the last year, the real lesson to me was you do most of your charging at home at night in the same way as you charge your phone. So you charge overnight, and then you've got the full range available. So you're not dependent on finding public charging points. That's really a last resort if one is on extensive travelling.
Yeah, that's great to hear because, anecdotal evidence, or talking to friends and family, it always comes up, range anxiety. I wouldn't make that purchase, but what you're saying is journeys are short, people charge their cars at home, and battery technology is always improving. Ranges are getting longer and greater. And, we briefly spoke earlier on about battery technology and the ability, to hold power and hold charge. And you're just going to mention, how the car can sort of help there in terms of storing power at home.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the theme today is smart technologies. And one of the smart technologies that's about to be rolled out across the whole country is a smart meter. So the domestic electricity meter in each house is going to be converted to a new smart meter. And that is going to give the electricity supply the opportunity to monitor much more closely what is actually being used and what power is being used on a house-by-house basis and at what time it's being used. And if you just step back from that, at the moment we can produce quite a lot of our electricity for the country with wind power. But the problem is the wind blowing at the right time that we need our power? the benefit of batteries is that if everybody had a domestic battery in their house linked to their new smart meter, then we could store power in the domestic batteries when the wind blows and use it and consume it from our batteries when we need it, and only go to the grid when we've run out of battery power. Where does the car come into that? The quickest way that we can actually get domestic batteries available would be actually to interact with the car battery. So back to what I was saying earlier on, if your car battery can store 5 days charge, at 6 o'clock in the evening, you've got plenty of capacity available in your car. Your house could draw from your car to boil the kettle, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, when electricity isn't required, refill the battery in your car. So that technology is coming, and the smart meter will be able to interact with your car and to optimize when it's drawing from the car and when it's drawing from the grid. So that technology is going to be a major advancement. And if you fast forward a couple of years, where we have 500,000 cars driving around with batteries, that gives Ireland a tremendous battery bank at its mobile availability.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yesterday we had Cubic Telecom on, and they were discussing, how car parts are communicating with the car and the car communicating with the manufacturer, and being able to bring that back into the residential environment where you have the toaster communicating with the kettle and the fridge. And now we'll have a system where hopefully where the house is now, the appliances are communicating with the house in terms of their consumption.
That's right.
And then the house is making that decision based on what's available and where it's available. It could be in the car, so it's drawing from the car, which is it's unbelievable.
A tremendous advancement.
Yeah, and it's very futuristic, but I think
very real.
It's very real as well.
Imminent.
Yeah, and I think COVID has accelerated. It may not be directly linked to COVID, but COVID I think has accelerated. A lot of research and a lot of technologies there. So it's definitely going to be a very exciting time and exciting space. Sorry for doorstepping you earlier on.
No problem.
I just thought it was a natural fit to get your insight into cars, car technology, and charging or range anxiety. So Gerard O'Farrell, thank you very much for dropping in this afternoon.